Well, thank you so much for staying with us. This is Sunrise Daily on Channels Television. Let's look at the evolving dynamics of Nigeria's sports sector, highlighting both the challenges and opportunities inherent in its development, particularly for this year, 2024. Of course, you would expect that a significant focus will be on the recent appointment of a new coach hired for the Super Eagles and a number of other things like that. Guest this morning is the Chairman, National Sports Commission, Shehu Dikko. He joins us again in our Abuja studio. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Well, maybe I should begin by asking you, sir, when you look at Nigeria's sports, of course, we know how viable it is, how much opportunities it gives us, and its capacity to unite Nigerians, particularly football. What are the gaps that you have seen over time? And how do you think those gaps can be addressed in a way that it gives Nigerians the intended, the desired, and the expected results in this year?
Well, as you know, the gap that is very obvious is the fact that for many years, for decades, we refuse to do the right things. We refuse to take the necessary steps to be able to make the sports to be very institutionalized, to run as it should be. We were only focused on just playing the games, playing the competition. Nobody was doing anything at the back end to make sure the necessary framework and the necessary possibilities are activated to make the sport highly successful. We have seen what is happening all over the globe. For example, so we left it a very, very long time ago. Now is the time we are trying now to be able to address all those deficits, go back to the basics, put out the platform to be able to achieve these objectives and make our sports to be not just sports being played, but to be something that is very key and fundamental part of the economy. If you look at it, for example, most people think about in those days with nostalgia, for example, as we talk about football, when we have in the 80s, in the 70s, the football, everything. But right from that time, we refused to do the right things because we are only playing the football. Nobody was putting any necessary structures and infrastructure to make it sustainable. Look at it, for example, Leventis United, for example, Abiola Bears, for example, Ranchers Bees, ICC. What were the structures that were put in place to make them the institutions that they ought to have been? The same way we see the big clubs across Europe that will tell you they've been around for 100 years, for this, they have their stadium, they have their core fan base that are already locked down and stuff like that. So those are the things, and that is why now we said, okay, let's go back to the basics. Let's remove this so much focus on competitions and go back to the development and start putting all the steps needed to be able to now make our sports industry more developmental focus. Then later the competitions will come into play.
Well, it's perhaps those who know will recognize that it wasn't just about football back in time. I grew up in an environment, and I was in a school where somehow I picked up interest in cricket. And basketball was also very, very strong when I was growing up. And in the schools particularly, all of these various games and sporting activities were very, very prime. If you say that the gaps are there now, at what point did we drop the ball, so to speak? Now, you have said that we weren't doing the right things. What were these right things we stopped doing?
Well, for example, now you just talk about the school sports. You know, the school sports is the foundation of all sports development, where you get the talent, where you get the people to be interested, where you get everybody the participation to be widely accepted, and then from there you can see how you can move it. So those are the kind of the things we didn't do. We didn't institutionalize it. Where are the school sports now? That is why the focus of the new National Sports Commission now, if you have been following up, you see that fundamental. We said we have to go back to grassroots, to the development, which will be driven basically by school sports and the academies. And I can tell you already we have held meetings with the Minister of Education, with everybody involved to see how we can collaborate and get back to school sports where it should be. I can speak to you even at this moment. I'm due to be immediately after this to be at a meeting with the provost and rectors of College of Education and Polytechnics as part of the first step. Next step is the vice chancellors and stuff like that. We are saying let's make the school sport to be the foundation of what we are doing. So what are we trying to do? We said we are going to create like centers of excellence. We want to have at least one tertiary institution across the 6 geopolitical zone that will be tagged a center of excellence for sports, so that we can work with that tertiary institution, put the infrastructures, put the necessary technical know-how, coaches and stuff like that. So any student at that level can be able to go to those universities while also advancing their sports career. Likewise, we want to work also with the Ministry of Education and the subnationals. We should have at least one secondary school in the state that also will be termed Center of Excellence for Sports. So any child at that age group that is good at sport can go to those schools and also continue whatever they have to do with sports, while we are also supporting with the infrastructure, with the technical know-how and stuff like that. Likewise, we cascade to the local governments as well, so that we'll have for each local government there should be at least one primary school that is also termed as the school of Center of Excellence. So with that, we have created a pyramid structure whereby as young as 10, 12, 13 years old, somebody who's at primary school can be able to be identified, and then they can go through that process to go to the School of Excellence for primary schools, secondary school, universities, and then to the elite level. That's the foundation. And then meanwhile, also we try to work at the other hand to put the academies and stuff like that. Once you do that, it's very easy to bring in the private sector as well to be part of it, so that we can have a thorough ecosystem that is working. I can tell you the last Olympics in Paris, 38% of the medals were won by students. So we left it when we stopped. Even those days, we are having players from secondary school playing for Super Eagles, but we are not tapping them. So that's the foundation we have to go and put on the basics and to see how we can get this going, in addition to the normal grassroots community sports and stuff like that. And then also we have to work on the elite level to make it very, very successful, to make it very, very working the right way, so that anybody can see a pathway. If I do it the right way, I can get to this level, up to the elite level where I can be successful. I can earn the right revenue, the right fame, and then and what have you.
Well, Chairman, a lot now rests on your shoulders, especially after the Ministry of Sports was scrapped and the National Sports Commission now empowered and brought back again. A lot now rests on your shoulders. We're looking at AFCON, and Nigerians will be looking to, make headway. The Olympics, where we have had far from stellar performance, Nigerians have not been showing pretty great in the Olympics. World Cup, people say, oh, that's the place where our hearts, when we eventually qualify, some people are very afraid to watch the games because they say, I don't want my heart broken unnecessarily. So there is that, and so a lot really does rest on your shoulders. But I want to go back to what it is that you've said now, which is where you are trying to build the foundation. You think that is where we should start from. This is something that takes time. There are two things that are actually swirling in my head. I like the plan that you have to build the foundation, but we found that even when you are trying to build the foundation, there are those who are seeking to corrupt that foundation. So you have even primary school games. People are already beginning to go and get mercenaries. Secondary school games. Remember the Shell Cup, the cup that used to be sponsored by the international, the IOC, Shell, and for secondary school boys. Some people were saying, oh, even that one too had mercenaries. Even the one that used to be played amongst the university games, a lot of mercenaries were said to have also infiltrated those games. So while you're trying to set this foundation right, are there mechanisms that you look to put in place so that that foundation is not corrupted?
Yeah, of course. You made a valid point, because that is why, you see, we said, for example, we based on what we had to do, what we are doing, the president gave us the mandate to work and create a sports economy. And we now said we are creating what we call, launching what we call the Renewed Hope Initiative for Nigerian sports economy, which is being now activated along 3 pillars, which is to reset, refocus, and then relaunch. What we mean by the reset is to change our mindset from this trying to all win by all means and then also being focused on the competition and stuff like that. Go back to development. So when people understand that, look, it's about development, it's not about just winning. So all these issues of mercenaries and stuff like that, along that framework can be able to be reduced. Yes, of course, there has to be a lot of strategies on ground. That's why we are working now at the top with the Ministry of Education. We have to go back to the state education and stuff like that. Even while I was doing my previous job, for example, what we are doing under 13, we put a little mechanism, for example, that we ask that at that age group, if you are doing under 15, for example, nobody plays in that competition without a reference letter from your principal, your last results from the school, and then which we can go and do spot checks to find out, to make sure that people are submitting the right thing. But once you change and reset the thing, people thinking that, look, this thing is about development, it's about progress. All this too much push to win and win by all means across, by all things to win, will stop. Because what we are doing now, for example, we have a budget line for grassroots development and early talent identification. That funding will help to drive that process. And then if now we identify you as a good talent at that level, we'll be able to support you with scholarship, we'll be able to even support your parents. So it's not about winning, it's about showing how good you are. So once you are good enough, you can be able to be in the loop where we can support you. So that will help to to reduce these issues. And then, of course, we are working on several legislation frameworks that will be able to reinforce and reinforce all this progress and all these programs that we have, so that everything will be done according to the books. And then there is clear guidelines, there is clear process to do that. In our vision, for example, we said part of what we are trying to do is to also restructure the sport federations to make them more active, to make them more fit for purpose, to deliver what they are supposed to do as the people operating the sports. So with that, all stakeholders will be involved, and we are sure at the end of the day, the way we judge people is not about winning, it's about how many talents we are able to produce on the table. Even the grant we give to schools, for example, it's about how many good talents you have been produced through a school that can be able to compete at the highest level, that will be able to now work with you, give you the infrastructure, give you the support and what have you to do that. So it's not about just winning the medals and then you go back home and then what next? Zero. No, we're not going to do that. So we are going to encourage people to work and deliver talents to us so that we can support them with all that we have to do.
I do know that mindsets take a while to change, and while you might want to start that preaching very early, sports for a number of people ultimately is about winning, and that's the mindset you're going to get when you hear that, oh, we're participating in the African Cup of Nations, oh, we're participating in the Olympics. What people want to hear is how many medals Nigeria won. Did we come home with the African Cup? These are the kinds of things that they want to hear. It takes a long time to build from foundation to where exactly we want our sports to be. How are you going to preach that to Nigerians who every time games are played are looking for results?
Well, I can tell you we are not abandoning the competitions. We are doing everything pari passu. As we are doing the development, we are also we are not taking our eyes off the ball about the competitions that we have to be part of. If you look at the 2025 federal budget, for the first time, for example, the president have done something that have not been done before. We have a clear, we have a clear budget line that has been inserted in the budget for 2025 for Olympics preparations. We have a budget line that has been inserted for Commonwealth preparations. We have a budget line that has been inserted for grassroots development and early and talent identification. We also even have a budget line for participation at the AFCON. Normally, and also the AFCON, that is the women AFCON as well, because which are competitions that are going to happen this year. There is also, under the service-wide vote, a budget that has been put in place for international competition participation, should in case we qualify to a competition within the year, that is not captured in the budget. So we are not taking our eyes off the ball about the competitions, but before you participate in the competition, you have to do it rightly. We can't wait until, for example, 2028, and then go and gather people and go to the president and collect huge billions and say we are going to go and participate at the Olympics. We are not going to win anything. But you start preparation for the 2028 Olympics today. So now we have created this budget line. So every year there will be some funding that will be put in place in the budget to support the Olympic preparations, Commonwealth preparations, grassroots talent development and stuff like that. Before even what we are doing with the private sector will also come on board to support whatever government is doing. So from this year, we are already preparing for the next Olympics. We are trying to identify the people that can give us the medal by the next Olympics. And also they too are going to be measured based on the performance they are doing. If you are not meeting some targets, you are not going to receive grants from us for what you are doing. Very soon, the Commission is going to impanel what we call Elite Development and Podium Committee. That committee basically is to be identifying the elite athletes, see what we can do with them, give them scholarship, the ones that are good enough, take them to the better training facilities abroad or put them in schools abroad where there's better training facilities towards the competitions and the Olympics. And likewise, we are interfacing because football is very key. We are always interfacing with the NFF to see whatever we could do to get the right preparations for the competitions. That's why, as we speak already, for example, we have a CHAN competition happening next month, but already, since on the 6th, the team are in camp, preparing, because we are also taking the competition seriously, because part of the vision we have is that any competition we participate, we must be able to be credible about it. We must give our best for it to see what we can do about it. But the target is not just to win and win and win at the same time. The target is to see how we have a proper sports development ecosystem domestically, where we can be counting our sports on the number of jobs we are creating, the kind of economic activities, the value chain industries that are working and feeding off the sports industry in the country. That is how they do it. Let me give you an example. A certain club.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, for example, I can tell you a certain club, for example, in UK, for example, that is in London. They don't declare more than 5 million or even negative in their own profit and loss accounts. But what they publish every year is that, look, we are employing 4,000 people, we are paid S number of taxes. This is the 1.something million people that have come to our stadium, our stories and stuff like that. This is the value addition to the economy. And that is how we should be viewing sports also in this country, to do that on those kind of numbers, not just on medals won and stuff like that. If we have a proper domestic sport industry that is employing millions of people as we forecast, and being at least 3% of the GDP as we forecast, that should be in the couple of years, then we are good to go. The rest, yes, you can win some, you can lose some in the competition. England have not won a competition in football since 1966. They have not won any top-level football since they won the World Cup in 1966. But they now manage to have the best and the most viral domestic football industry in the world, the most economic viable. And you can imagine the number of millions of people that are being employed through the Premier League in UK. Imagine if the UK doesn't have the Premier League, what the economy will be, what the perception of the country will be, what the happiness and the good and the feel-good factor of the country could be. So that is why we want to change the thinking, to reset the thinking, to be seeing our sport on that light before we now start saying, okay, we must win, we must win, we must win. Definitely only one person going to win at the end of the day.
Well, you spoke about budget lines and how you want to start preparations early, and how you're not looking to collect lump sums when these events are already upon us, which is a good thing. And whether the budget lines will be funded, another kettle of fish. But something happened last year, an incident in Libya which involved Super Eagles, and everybody was very unhappy about it. We saw how even CAF eventually intervened and sanctions were meted out. But Libya, the team in Libya and the authorities in Libya claimed that, the sporting authorities that is, claimed that it was because they had also received that sort of treatment here in our country, and they referenced the shoddy manner of treatment and arrangements that were made. So how do we make sure that these sort of incidences, if Nigeria were to host friendly matches, those kinds of things don't pop up again?
Well, I can tell you the Libya issue, what they said about Nigeria was not actually factual. So that is a fact. They just created a story trying to justify what they did. We all know what happened. The NFF and the authorities in Nigeria gave them the best kind of treatment that they could do at the moment. The little gaps that happened at that time was their own creation. When they were supposed to land in Uyo, after all the approvals have been gotten, and they went to land in Port Harcourt, and they refused to use their flight to fly from Port Harcourt to Uyo. Instead, they said they want to come by vehicle. Anyway, all that one is past tense. Nigeria is one of the most beautiful hosts because you can hardly hire any country, any club that come to Nigeria to play a tournament and they go back complaining. We always try to do our best. And of course, part of our vision is to see that we start hosting a lot of international competitions as much as we can that can be able to put Nigeria on the map on the positive platform. Reason we are having a clear focus to see how we can repair the critical infrastructures of sport in Nigeria to be able to do that. We have one of the best qualified people in Oganman. Remember, we have organized how many under 17 World Cup, under 20 World Cup, Commonwealth Games. We have all, African games that we are not Commonwealth that we have hosted in this country, and there was no any issue. So we have the experience, we have the personnel, and definitely it's going to be one of our focus. And we keep trying to make sure any host that come to Nigeria, we put Nigeria in the most positive light so that they can, it's not for them to just come to Nigeria and play. It's for them to come to Nigeria and love it and go back and tell the story somewhere so that we can get more tourists, people to come for tourism, for visit, for whatever into the country. That's basically what Morocco is doing. That's why Morocco is hosting almost every available tournament. Morocco wants to host it. They are doing that to showcase their country, put it on the platform, and send the message so they can get many other marketing agents that will go back after the tournament to tell the world that Morocco is beautiful, Morocco is hospitable, Morocco is good. And so you can see the tourists are flocking to Morocco every day. So we also have that vision going forward. But first and foremost, we have to make sure we fix our infrastructures. Reason also, as you can see in the budget, we are working to see how we can fix the infrastructure, and then later we can concession a lot of them to get the private sector to run them. Okay. Because that's the standard across the world. Abuja Stadium, for example, we are working to fix it, and then we can turn it to be a sports city by inviting the private sector to come on board, build the hotels, build the convention centers, build the shopping malls and stuff like that, even the housing estate. So to make it a proper sports city where it can run on itself, it can earn money to be able to maintain itself, and then it can host all kind of competition that is possible.
Mr. Chairman, let me quickly bring you, because we're talking football and we were also talking infrastructure, but let's focus a little more on football now. We've just appointed a new coach for the Super Eagles, and it's not exactly been very warmly welcomed. As a matter of fact, a number of fans have been criticizing the choice of this new coach. Can you tell us why? Because some people say, oh, why are we going for this French League 2 veteran? And that's the strongest criticism against him. Was there a reason why we decided on the new coach, Eric Chelle?
Well, you see, first and foremost, I tell you, it's normal. There was never a coach that has been appointed in Nigeria that people did not complain. There was never one that everybody said, oh, it's good enough. So it's normal because Nigerians are very passionate about it, and Nigerians always have their own ideas. In football, for example, and sport generally, everybody is a coach, everybody has his own idea. But the validation of getting this coach is people have tried to take it off the radar for conversation. We have a World Cup qualifiers that are very dicey, that are very critical. We have 3 windows to play the qualifiers. There's no any window for friendly match. There's no any window to do any test match. And we are playing, for goodness sake, we are playing African countries. We are playing, I think, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, South Africa, Lesotho, and Benin. Those are core African countries. So the only person that can come at this moment, if you want to get somebody that can bring a fresh thinking to the team and lead the team, is somebody with the experience of African football. And this coach, for example, is not only a League 2 veteran or whatever you can tell me. No, you should judge him with the work he has done with the national team. Forget about the club. Club football is different. National team is different. What is the foundation of the work he has done with the national team? What is the success rate? Eric was a coach of Mali, and when he coached Mali, he made Mali a very strong team that everybody was afraid to play. They even defeated Nigeria in a friendly match, defeated South Africa, I think, in a friendly match. And in total, he played 22 games with Mali, won 14, draw 5, and only I think lost 3. And that shows credibility for what he's doing with the national team. And of course, the World Cup qualifiers we are having, we all have to outscore our opponents. Eric with Mali in those 22 matches score over 40 goals. but I think he conceded only about 12 goals. So he also, you can see the philosophy. He's also defending well, and he's scoring very well. He was able to outscore all his opponent. Even in the last AFCON, he lost by the miracle of the last-minute goal by a mistake. So it's normal like that. But he came with that credibility, that the fact that he's going to give a new thinking to the team. And then Eric is not coming as Eric. He's coming with other 3 assistants who are going to be also supporting what he's doing. A set-piece coach, a goalkeeper coach, and also I think an analyst or what have you. I don't know, the other one that he's bringing on board. So it's a team that are coming together to give us a fresh start, to give us a new thinking, to give us a new push.
Okay.
There's no any friendly matches. We are going straight to the matches. So it's only somebody with the experience of African football. If you go and bring a Mourinho now, for example, or even Alex Ferguson from retirement, before he comes and sit down and understand the African terrain, understand how to work with the players.
You just went straight to the question that I would have loved to ask you, but for the exigency of time, how come when we have Nigerian coaches, we don't seem to have the kind of success we need? Is it that whatever it is, that plays out? But maybe that question I'll have to keep until another time. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Shehu Dikko is the Chairman, National Sports Commission. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure always to be here.
Okay. Well, you probably also, Mr. Chairman, have a good friend in some fellow who is saying that they know your work at the LMC and that you did well. Well, we're holding you to that. You better do well this time.
They did. I mean, they say you know a man by what he's done before. So it's certainly something to look forward to. Absolutely. In our sports sector. But what a Monday morning it's been, Ayo. I think time flew by pretty quickly. I haven't stood up from this chair, not even when this morning was on. It is really nice to be with you in Lagos.
Fortunately, you are back again. Anyway. Well, that's been a beautiful one. Thank you so much for the privilege of your time. I'm Ayo Makinde. Enjoy the rest of your day and week.
Professor Naki, and I will see your mail. Hopefully we'll take that tomorrow. Thank you so much for writing in. Thank you so much for watching this morning. I'm Mal Goodbye.